Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, an anime I was introduced to right around when I entered the world of good anime. Again, if you watch previous videos, you know what I started with. But the completely over-the-top and ludicrous 2007 action mecha anime that has a place in most fans' hearts one way or another, with some of the most easily recognizable characters and quotes of any series. I knew Yoko long before I knew the anime or even really watched any at all, to be real, and even some non-fans know who the hell do you think we are and believe in the me who believes in you. As someone who generally dislikes mecha animes for the most part, it still takes a spot in my top 5 at least, if not being up near 1 or 2. It also holds the title of having my favorite character in all of anime, Commander of the Far East Theater Human Eradication Force, Viral. Viral is a beastman, creations of the Spiral King Lord Genome, made to help subjugate humanity underground. He's the first major character to engage in combat with Kamina, and his constant and thorough losses to the man and later Simon drive him to keep coming back again and again and again to no avail. This, with no context, doesn't say much, but I think taking a deeper look into who Viral is leads to show some great indirect development for our heroes and deepens our understanding of their power. Now, there doesn't appear to be any real backstory on Viral from before his entrance in episode 3, so instead we'll have to rely on his screen time alone to show his importance to the Beastman army. Kamina, Simon, and the gang face all 4 of Lord Genome's generals, and the man himself in the first story arc, yet Viral is constantly involved in these battles as well. He fights alongside all but one of the 4 generals, Tylimp in both his appearances, both of Adne's true engagements, and one of Cytomander's. He's only absent from Grame's fights, and once due to being in the direct company of the Spiral King himself. In fact, Viral is present for 9 of the 15 fights from Arc 1, not counting minor conflicts, and directly fights in 7 of them, making him a factor in an average of just about 50% of skirmishes from the first arc. If we only count the battles fought directly against the Beastman army, Viral's percentage rises to 67, directly fighting in 6 of the 9. So to say he's a factor is an understatement, but he also holds the title of being the only subordinate of Lord Genome to make a demand of him and not be reprimanded. He even remains less calm than the others do, yet still receives less backlash for it. Perhaps through some respect the Spiral King has for him, or maybe just his want to use Viral as a storytelling pawn, but it must have some value. So just looking at screen time and involvement alone, he seems to be of at least decent importance to Lord Genome. Besides brute force screen time, we're also shown the dedication Viral has to his bouts with Kamina. Having only won their first encounter, he takes greater and riskier steps to have a rematch every time. Having lost the battle for Da Gunzen, he asks to accompany Adne in her attempt, in a scene that makes me feel for him to no end, where he asks and only receives a beating and a swift no based on her petty personal reasons. After saving the woman who just attacked him for a simple request, their attack fails and Viral washes up as the lone survivor, cursing the name of Gurren Lagann and Kamina. He returns in Cytomander's raid and directly causes the general's failure by doing direct damage to their ship in an attempt to slay Simon, and refusing to actually finish the job in an unhonorable manner at Cytomander's request. Being recommended to be put to death for his insubordination, and accepting it, he raises his questions to Lord Genome, who makes him immortal, but leaves out an important detail. He can't beat Simon. He loses swiftly when they meet again, as Lord Genome explains he's now just a storytelling pawn, made to live forever and tell the tale of humanity's loss. Viral goes through a lot of shit just to have a chance at Kamina and Simon's lives, let alone a guaranteed direct fight. Not only that, but his refusal to slay Simon as Yoko is held captive. He doesn't just want to kill these guys, he wants to defeat them in combat, fair and square, in a respectful fight. That's the biggest show of respect we see in all of the first arc to Simon and Kamina's strength, because to him they aren't just naked apes anymore, not simple bugs to be squashed, but worthy foes in combat, respectable and accomplished. They stole the honor and pride of one of the most prideful warriors of the Beastman army. The fact that a man as cocky and even arrogant to an extent as Viral would go to such extreme lengths for the main pair is one of the biggest signs of just how powerful they really are. Viral is a tragic character, and although it started at Kamina's hands, he also inflicts a lot of it on himself, with his obsession of besting his foe growing more and more with every conflict they have. He didn't have to fight with a general who abused him, and he didn't have to disobey a general he knew would want to have him killed for it. He chose to in a testament to the will of Kamina and Simon. We can also take a closer look at just how everyone's favorite shark with feline DNA fights as well. He moves in a very swift and technical manner, backing up the statement about him being a trained soldier fighting against an amateur. From countering almost everything thrown at him to dodging a gunman's sneak attack and a sniper shot from Nyoko, our first look at him emanates nothing but a trained and experienced soldier as he forces back Kamina with every attack. This isn't even mentioning the massive overkill of his helmet blast, which causes a detonation of nuclear proportion. It's clear that Viral is on level, if not above our heroes, having ridiculous moments and moves of his own, and that's not even counting when he fights alongside them, even going so far as to be the pilot of Kamina's Gurren, taking over the role he once helped to develop. It's clear from all his battles that he's a genuinely strong and experienced soldier, but is bested by something under the surface. Excluding their opening and final fights of the first arc, Viral almost always comes out of the battle on top, only to be beaten by a new transformation or power that comes with little to no explanation, something he makes us very aware of with direct callouts to the situation reversal. Although these instant power-ups are epic and insane moments on their own, Viral's inclusion in them adds an undertone to reflect some viewer feelings. Like him, we have no idea where this new power came from, or why they now have it. Viral is the technically better and more practiced fighter, yet he still loses every encounter but one due to a sudden burst of fighting spirit, something only a main character would be able to pull off, something only a warrior on a path of destiny struggling with fate would be able to attain. And this is something subconsciously reinforced by Viral's inclusion, a small detail I didn't even notice was affecting the power of the show until looking deeper into it. And then we learn he's undergone his own transformation, now immortal and ready to finally regain his honor, and he loses in the swiftest fashion yet. It could be argued as a setup by the Spiral King, yet we see Viral still being an adept fighter in the second arc, so it seems more likely that this is what it's always been. Simon and the team's fighting spirit at an all-time high for what they thought would be their final battle, with the very quick yet meaningful, almost pre-fight with Viral. A quick note to get across the mindset of, oh shit, Simon's here to fuck some shit up. It's on. And that's what I'm really getting at here. It's not Simon and Kamina just fighting against some random enemies. I mean, they do fight against the generals who, although we see them before their actual direct conflicts, they are mostly characters developed just to fight against Kamina and Simon. They're very flat and one-dimensional in that manner. But the entire time through most of these fights, we also have the presence of Viral, someone we know to be a strong and powerful fighter. Someone that we've seen best Kamina and Simon, forcing them to flee whenever, during the one moment where they don't pull off some transformation of fighting spirit. And I think that's something that just really helps improve and develop their characters to us, even if we're not realizing it. Again, they're not just besting some random people, they're besting this long-time foe that we know to be powerful, that we know to be strong and prideful, and, refusing to slay them in an unhonorable manner. And then just looking at the shit he goes through to be able to just have a chance at fighting them, even if not directly, when Adne just hits him repeatedly while he's asking to be able to, help her in her fight, and not even being allowed to, and then saving her, like this person who just abused him, to be able to fight them again, and again, not even directly, just to be involved in it. And really, at the end of the day, it's why would he go through all of this shit that he puts himself through, that he directly does to himself in a sense, to fight them, unless they were completely worthy foes, unless they were completely just epic warriors that he had to best to prove himself. Why would he not take his one chance to end Simone, even if it's in an unhonorable manner, unless they were just super worthy and foes of epic proportions. At the end of the day, Kamina and Simon are standing on a mountain of their own accomplishments. But that mountain is built on and supported by Viral, this tragic character who, just wanted to beat them, who just wanted to prove that he could do something, but was physically unable to due to being a beastman, where they're, as we learned by Lord Genome, just unable to beat someone who's acquired the power of the spiral. And it just really shows that, no matter the determination they go through, because they are fighting one of the most determined characters of the entire show, even at his max, even trying his best, he can't beat them. That they're just, they're destined warriors of fate or some, epic thing like that. And it's just, no matter what he tries, it's impossible to beat them. And that's the best way of showing it. We're not just told it of like, no one comes on screen and goes, man, they must just be destined to be the greatest warriors of all time. It's subtly shown and hinted at through Viral this entire time. And it's something I find just so beautifully well done. And I hope I've convinced you of it as well. And although I do have some bias to the show and some major bias to Viral as well, I don't think you could argue that he's not an important and that he's not a good character. I think he's very well done and deserves, a place as being a top tier character. It's also kind of reflected in the end of the show where he basically becomes Simon's successor. Now being immortal, he's basically for eternity going to be the commander of Team Gurren heading into the future, where we see him at the ending of episode 27. And it just feels very fitting that, the whole time he's basically around to support and bolster the role of Kamina and Simon, and he moves up, to eventually piloting Gurren, to just being the captain of Team Gurren in general, and finally fulfills the role that he's been trying to best and attain this entire series. And anyway, I had a script written for this and I completely went off of it for these final 3 minutes or so, like this basically recap at the end to try and hammer home my point, because I felt the script was a little lacking in that. But hopefully this turns out well, and again, hopefully I convinced you of this as well, especially to back up the extraordinarily clickbait title of this video. Obviously, Kamina and Simon stand on their own, so the title is very clearly clickbait, but I do think there is definitely a lot of premise to it, a lot backing it up, and I do believe it as a very important point. Also, I had an excuse to talk about my, online namesake, so that's pretty cool as well. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to this bowl of old ramen and energy drink that's sitting to my right now, so I'll see you later.